In this session, we'll see the stability of control system. So what is the stability? It is the process to find out the system is stable or unstable. And when the system is called as stable system, a system is said to be stable if the system gives the bounded output for the bounded input. And the system is said to be unstable if the system gives the unbounded output for the bounded inputs. What is the need of stability? Why it is required in the control system? Because the stability is a major design consideration for the closed loop control system. That's why the stability is important. The unstable control system, it is of no practical use, and the stable system, it gives the bounded output. That's why we are finding the stability analysis. There are the three types of the stability. One is the stable system, another is the unstable system, and third is the marginally stable system. System is called as the stable system when all the roots of the characteristic equation or the transfer function are lies in the left half of S plane. The system is called as the stable system. If the roots are lies in the right half of S plane, system becomes unstable. And when it is called as marginally stable, if the system stability depends upon some conditions, that system is called as the marginally stable system. Look at this S plane. Here the left half of S plane and the right half of S plane, these are representing the stability and instability parts. Left half of S plane, that represents the stable region, and the right half of S plane represents the unstable region. When any root of the characteristic equation that lies in the left half of S plane, system is absolutely stable, and if any one root lies in the right half of S plane, whole system becomes unstable. And if there is a case the roots are on the imaginary axis, at that time the system is stable or unstable, that depends upon the repeatedness of the roots. If the roots are repeated, system is unstable, and the roots are unrepeated, system is stable. Except this general concept for the stability, there are the two major methods or the techniques for the determining of stability in the time domain. First time domain stability analysis method is the Routh-Harvey stability criteria, and second is the Routh-Locus. So in the today's session we are going to discuss both the methods. So the Routh-Harvey stability criteria, in that the characteristic equation is analyzed. Characteristic equation is nothing but the denominator equation of the transfer function. The characteristic equation is written in the form of the roots table. So the roots array is formed with the help of the characteristic equation, and the roots array, once it is formed, at that time we are checking the first column of roots array. If the first column of roots array, it have the all the coefficient or the element having the same sign, then the system is called as the stable system. If in the first column of the roots array the sign changes are there, then the system is called as the unstable system. If there are the two sign changes, means system is having the two poles in the right half of S plane, because the poles in the right half are making the system unstable. So the formula is number of sign changes is equal to number of poles in the right half of S plane. Now we'll see how to find out the various elements in the various rows of the roots array. And there is one rule: there should not be a missing term at the for the characteristic equation. If there is any missing term, then the system is unstable. Let's have this example. We'll see the analysis of the stability with the basic equation, characteristic equation. Okay, so this is the characteristic equation which represents the system. that is given in the example. So we need to form the roots array first of all for the stability analysis. So the highest degree is 3. So the terms are written as s cube, s square, s raised to 1 up to s raised to 0. Then the s cube row and the s square row, these two rows, always the two rows of the roots array are directly determined from the characteristic equation. The first element or the coefficient of the s cube, that is 1, and the s raised to 1 coefficient is 2. So the odd number is the first row, that's why the odd number elements or the coefficient like s cube coefficient is 1 and s raised to 1 coefficient is 2 written in the first row. Then the second row elements are 1 and 24. They are written in the second row. So the two rows can be determined by directly the characteristic equation. Now what about the other rows? We have to calculate the other row elements by some mathematical calculation, same like a determinant. Okay, so for that purpose this 1 is multiplied with 2, 1 into 2 minus 24 divided by this element 1. So 2 minus 24 divided by 1, it becomes minus 22. So this is the next element. Then this 1 into here no any term is present, that is 0. So 1 into 0 minus 1 into 0 divided by 1, the next element is 0. Then the last row element, the 24 is occurred. How it occurred? Minus 22 into 24 minus 1 into 0 divided by this term minus 22. So minus 22 into 24 divided by minus 22. So minus 22 gets cancelled. We are getting 24. Okay, so in the first column we are having the elements 1, 2, minus 22 and 24. So there are two sign changes from positive 2 to minus 22 and minus 22 to positive 24. So there are two sign changes. The system is having a two poles in the right half of S plane who are making the system unstable. So this system is an unstable system because there are the two sign changes, means two poles in the right half of S plane, and as the highest degree is 3, so there are total 3 poles. Out of total 3 poles, the 2 poles are in the right half because the two sign changes are in the roots array. That's why one pole is in the left half. Okay, let's take another example. S raised to 4 plus 2s cube plus 3s square plus 4s plus 5. The highest degree is s raised to 4. So the order for the roots array is from s raised to 4 to s raised to 0. First two rows are directly written from the characteristic equation. The coefficient of s raised to 4 is 1. Skip the second term. Then the third term is 3 and the next is 5. So 1, 3, 5. S cube terms are 2, 4 and 0. So the two rows we got from the characteristic equation, but now the analysis is required for the next rows. So s raised to 2 row elements, how they are calculated? 3 into 2, that becomes 6 minus 4 into 1 divided by this 2. Okay, this one 2. So 6 minus 4, that becomes 2 divided by 2, they equal to 1. So next element is 1. Okay, now the 2 into 5, that is 10. 10 minus 0 divided by 2. So next element is 5. Next is 1 into 4, that becomes 4. So 1 into 4, that becomes 4 minus 10 divided by 1, that becomes minus 6. Okay, so similarly minus 6 into 5, that is minus 30, minus 0 divided by minus 6, we are getting plus 5 here. So the first row elements are 1, 2, positive 1, then minus 6 and plus 5. So there are two sign changes, positive 1 to minus 6 to positive 5. So there are two sign changes. So system is again unstable due to the two poles in the right half, and the total poles are 4 because the highest degree is 4. So the total poles of the characteristic equation, total roots are 4, but out of the total 4, 2 poles are in the right half because the number of sign changes are 2. So remaining 2 are in the left half of S plane. So look at the next example. The same example, similar example is given with the characteristic equation there. 2s raised to 4 plus s cube plus 3s square plus 5s plus 10 equal to 0. So it starts from the s raised to 4 row and ends with the s raised to 0. The first two row elements are 2, 3 and 10. Second row elements are 1, 5 and 10. Next row elements are calculated with the help of the 1 into 3 minus 2 into 5 divided by 1, it becomes minus 7. Next element is 1 into 10 minus 2 into 0 divided by 1, it becomes 10. S raised to 1 elements are calculated, we are getting 6.4300, and the s raised to 0 elements are 10, 0, 0. So we have to analyze the first column of roots array. The elements are 2, 1, minus 7, 6.43 and 10. Again we are getting two sign changes here, positive 1 to minus 7, minus 7 to plus 6.43. So there are two sign changes. So the total poles are 4 because the highest degree is 4, highest order is 4. That's why the total poles are 4, and the two poles are in the right half of S plane and the remaining two poles are in the left half, but the system is unstable. Now the next example, s cube plus 3s square plus 3s plus 1 plus k equal to 0. Here the k parameter is given in the equation, characteristic equation. So the system is depends upon the value of k. System stability depends upon the value of k. That's why it is a conditionally stable, means a marginally stable system. This system is called as the marginally stable system. So the procedure is not different, the same procedure we are following, that is the roots array. Okay, so we are writing the elements in the roots table, s cube to s raised to 0, 1, 3, 0. These are the elements of the first row. Second row elements are 3, 1 plus k. The coefficients we are writing, and we are getting the 8 minus k by 3 in the s raised to 1 row and 1 plus k in the s raised to 0 row after the calculations. So as per the rule of stability of the RH criteria, all signs of all coefficients should have the same sign, but the two elements in the first column 1 and 3 are having the positive sign. So other elements 8 minus k and 1 plus k, for the making the system stable, they should be greater than 0. So the condition is what? 8 minus k should be greater than 0 and the 1 plus k should be greater than 0. Equate the two terms with the 0, you will get the range of values of k for which the system is stable. So from minus 1 to 8, the system is stable. So the range of values of k is minus 1 to 8. So the next example, s cube plus 2s square plus 4s plus k. This is another example of marginal stability. If you see there, the s cube is the highest degree which is written there. So order of the roots array is from s cube to s raised to 0. So the first two row elements are directly calculated from the characteristic equation. So what is the coefficient of s cube? That is 1, and the coefficient of the s raised to 1 is 4, that is written. So 2 is the element there in the s square row and the k is there. So 1, 4 and 2k, these are the two elements. So how the calculations are there? 2 into 4 becomes 8 minus 1 into k becomes k divided by 2. 8 minus k divided by 2. Next term becomes 0 because 2 into 0, 1 into 0 divided by 2 becomes 0. Next element for the s raised to 0 element is most of the time it is a constant k, because this term is always 0, mostly it is 0. That's why this second term becomes 0, and we are getting the same term in the numerator and denominator. So we are getting this term at the constant. So the 8 minus k by 2 into k minus 0 divided by 8 minus k by 2, 8 minus k by 2, 8 minus k by 2 get cancelled, only k is present. So again, analyzing the stability, there are the first column elements are 1, 2, 8 minus k by 2 and k. So this 8 minus k should be greater than 0 and k should be greater than 0. Equating these two terms with the 0 will get the range of values of k, that is 0 to 8, for which the system is stable. There are some special cases also. If we are getting the infinity in some first column element, so at that time the 0, we are making the system infinity, at that time that 0 will be replaced by the small positive number epsilon, and we are checking the signs, it may be a positive or negative. So where the 0 occurred, at that time in the first column we are replacing that 0 by the small positive number epsilon or e, and then by putting that epsilon we are checking the signs, positive or negative. Still in this example there are two sign changes, so the system becomes unstable with the two roots in the right half of S plane, and the total roots are 5 because the highest degree or the highest order is 5. So the 5 minus 2, the 3 poles are in the left half, but there are still 2 poles which are in the right half. That's why the system is a unstable system. So then in the special case 2, when we are getting the total 0 row, so that is one of the issue, that is the special case number 2. At that time we have to take the derivative of the auxiliary equation, and we have to solve these kind of examples. Okay, sometimes in the question the block diagram will given. Don't get confused for these kind of examples, because for the Routh-Hurwitz criteria we require a characteristic equation, and characteristic equation is the denominator equation. It is 1 plus g of s into h of s equal to 0. Okay, so what we require, g of s and the h of s values. So g of s is the forward gain which is given in this block, 1 upon s cube plus s square plus 2s plus 23, and the h of s is the unity, that is 1. So we have to get the formula, that is 1 plus g of s into h of s equal to 0, and by putting the characteristic equation we can form the roots array, and we can analyze the number of sign changes in the first column of roots array. So the first column of roots array for this example, in that 1, 1, minus 22, 24, these are the elements. So there are the two sign changes, so system is unstable. So this is the marginally stable system, for that the system is using the special cases. So epsilon is put there in a place of 0, but the system is again unstable. Okay, so after the RH criteria method, the next method or the alternative method for the stability analysis in the time domain is the root locus method. It is a very simple graph which is of the zeros and the poles with the real and imaginary coordinates. This is a very powerful method or the graphical technique for finding the stability analysis of the closed loop control system. It depends upon the location of closed loop poles. So the location of poles and zeros, that is important in the root locus. So first of all, the open loop transfer function is given in this format, where the numerators, its roots are zeros and the denominator roots are poles. So the poles and zeros are represented by some special symbols. Pole is represented by a cross symbol and the zero is represented by a small circles. There are the specific rules for the root locus sketching. Okay, so this root locus is having some predefined rules. First of all, we need to find out the number of poles and number of zeros. Okay, then we have to find out the symmetric about the real axis, whether there are two complex conjugate roots, right? If example is 2 plus 3j and 2 minus 3j, there are the complex conjugate pair, then there is the symmetric about the real axis, that we have to find out in the second rule. then we have to find out whether the actually root locus is present, which segments are the part of root locus and which segments are not a part of root locus. That depends upon the, if there are the odd number of roots at the right side of the end point of segment, then that segment is the part of root locus. Next is the angle of asymptote. Angle of asymptotes are drawn with the help of the formula, that formula is 2q plus 1 into 180 upon poles minus zeros. These angle of asymptotes are the guidelines for the curves or the various what we can say, the curves in the graph. So the angle of asymptote is drawn on a point. That point is called as a centroid point. That centroid is denoted by sigma, which is the summation of open loop poles minus summation of real part of the open loop zeros divided by poles minus zeros. So with the help of this formula we can find out the angle of the centroid, and the angle of asymptote formula is 2q plus 1 upon 2q plus 1 into 180 upon poles minus 0. This is the formula, 2q plus 1. Sometimes that is given as a k or l, and the pi value is 180 divided by number of poles minus number of zeros, and the number of asymptotes are equal to the poles minus zeros. If the poles minus zeros is value, that value is 2, so there are the two values of k, 0 and 1. If we put this value, we'll get the two angle of asymptotes. So we know the root locus, it depends upon the location, its stability depends upon the location of closed loop poles. So there are the two conditions which should be satisfied for the root locus. First one is the magnitude condition and second is the angle condition. So the magnitude condition, in that we are finding the magnitude of the open loop transfer function, that should be equal to 1. Then the given point is on the root locus. And the angle condition is what? The angle of the particular open loop transfer function should be the odd multiple of 180 degree. So if these two conditions are satisfied, the root locus is exist. Next thing is we are having some rules. We'll see one example step by step. So let's consider this equation of the open loop transfer function g into h equal to k into s plus 2 divided by s square into s plus 4. Okay, the first step is finding the number of poles and number of zeros. If you see this example, s square means there are the two poles at origin. These two poles are represented by these cross symbols. There are the two cross symbols at origin 0. Okay, and there is a 1 0 at minus 2. And there is a one pole at minus 4. So this is a representation. This is called as the pole 0 plot. We have to draw this pole 0 plot and we have to note down the number of poles and number of zeros. Next rule is where the root locus branches starts and where the root locus branches terminates or ends. Root locus branches are always starts from the open loop poles. So open loop pole is at 0. Okay, so there is a pole at origin, so the branch of the root locus starts at the 0, and where the root locus branches are terminates, root locus branches are always terminates at the 0, means open loop 0 and the infinity. So here the value of 0 is minus 2 and the value the minus 4 is the pole there. So in this case the root locus will end at the infinity. So root locus branches, they are ending with the 0, open loop zeros or infinity, and they are starting with the open loop poles. So next rule is the rule number 3. If there are the complex conjugate pairs like 1 plus 2j, 1 minus 2j, so then there is a symmetry of the real axis that we can find out. Next rule is the very important on the pole 0 plot, finding the number of finding the existence of the root locus on the real axis, where the root locus is actually present. What is the part of root locus and what is not a part of root locus. So there are various segments. For this example, if you see k into s plus 2 divided by s square into s plus 4. So there are two poles at the origin, one 0 is at minus 2 and one pole at the minus 4, and there is again minus 4 that can be shown here. So there is a minus infinity there. Okay, so this is the last segment is minus infinity to minus 4. So if you consider this minus infinity, we have to look at the right side of the minus infinity for considering this segment minus infinity to 4, whether this is a part of root locus or not root locus, that we are finding. So just concentrate on the number of roots on the right side of this minus infinity. So there are 4 poles, one at the minus 4, there are 4 roots, one at the minus 2 and 2 poles are at the 0. So total 4 roots are at the right side, but the condition is what? There should be the odd number of roots to the right side of the particular endpoint or the segment. So there are the 4 roots, that's why this minus 4 to infinity, this is not a part of root locus. But now while we consider the minus 4 point, at the point minus 4, if you look at the right side, there are the 3 roots. Considering this minus 2 and the 2 poles are 0, there are 3 poles, this is the odd number. So that there are 3 roots to the right side of minus 4. So this particular segment minus 4 to minus 2, this is the part of root locus. So our root locus may be located on minus 4 to minus 2. While we consider the minus 2, there are the 2 poles at the right side. Okay, so this 0 to minus 2, this is not a part of root locus. So root locus only exists between minus 2 to minus 4. So the next minus 2 to minus 4, it is a part of root locus. The whatever the main points like a breakaway point, that is the main root locus point, that should be located on the root locus part minus 2 to minus 4. So root locus is present between minus 2 to minus 4 for this example. Next is finding the angle of asymptotes. As I said earlier, the angle of asymptotes are calculated with the help of formula, that is theta, that is 2q plus 1. Sometimes there is a k or l or q, any term will be given, so that depends upon the various authors. So 2l plus 1 into 180 is given, divided by n minus m means number of poles minus number of zeros. So that is a p minus z. So the formula is 2q plus 1 into 180 upon poles minus zeros. So here the number of asymptote depends upon the poles minus zeros. Number of asymptote equal to poles minus zeros. So number of poles minus zeros equal to 2. So there are the 2 asymptotes. So value of L always starts from 0. So if there are 2 asymptotes, means the value of this constant term L or Q or the K, that is from 0 to 2. We have to put these two values in this equation, and number of poles and zeros is that we have already determined. So by putting this, we will get the answer. If you see this example, k upon s into s plus 2, see there the number of poles are 2 and the number of zeros are 0. So the poles minus 0, that becomes 2. Okay, so there are the two values, zeros and 1. We have to put L equal to 0 one time and L equal to 1 in the second time. So L equal to 0, by putting in this equation, we will get a 90 degree. While putting L equal to 1, we will get a 270 degree. So these are the two angle of asymptotes. So this is regarding the angle of asymptotes. Next is the centroid. How we are finding the centroid? See this one. Centroid is calculated with the help of the formula, that is denoted by a sigma is equal to summation of real part of the poles minus summation of real part of zeros divided by poles minus zeros. I am using these terms p minus z, okay, instead of n and m. It is convenient to use p minus z. So poles minus zeros, suppose these are 4. Okay, so how it is calculated? P minus z is important here. So the summation of the poles minus summation of the zeros, whatever the poles are there, just add these poles, a real part of the poles. Whatever the zeros are present in the particular graph, sum these all the zeros, real part of the zeros, divided by poles minus zeros, will get the centroid. Okay, see the example for the centroid. We are denoting centroid as a sigma. So the equation example is same, k into s plus 2 divided by s square into s plus 4. For that, the real summation of real part of poles, the centroid equal to there are the two poles 0 minus 0 and then minus 4 is there, minus, this is the summation of the poles. The summation of 0 is what? Minus 2 divided by poles minus zeros. There are the three poles and there is a 1 0, so 3 minus 1. So depending upon this you can see that the result minus 4 plus 2 divided by 3 minus 1 becomes 2. The answer is minus 1. So this minus 1 point, this is called as centroid, and whatever the angle of asymptotes we are getting in the root locus, they are drawn with the help of the centroid. Okay, so centroid is the point where the angle of asymptotes are drawn. So there are the two angle of asymptote, one is of 90 degree which we are getting for this equation, and other is of 270 degree. So both are coming from the pole 0, so the one is a 90 degree, another is of 180 degree. So the next part is the finding the breakaway point, which is the main central point of the root locus, or the root locus is present over the breakaway point. Okay, so the breakaway point between the two poles, or the break in a point between two zeros, is given by this formula. Okay, so the first method, that is the summation of 1 divided by beta minus pi is equal to beta minus zi. This is the one method, but the breakaway point that we are getting, you will calculate in this equation. We'll see that. See this example, k upon s into s plus 1 plus s plus 2, where the root locus is present for this, that is important first of all, because that is a valid breakaway point. That is important here. So if that breakaway point is not on the root locus part, that is not a valid breakaway point. So here the minus 2 is the one pole, minus 1 is the one pole, 0 is the one pole. Here we have minus infinity. We have to check the root locus parts, minus infinity to minus 2, whether it is a part of root locus. Yes, because there are the three poles to the right side. Now this is the part of root locus. Root locus can be present on minus 2 to minus infinity. Next we will check at the minus 2 point. Look at the right side, there are the two poles. So this minus 2 to minus 1, this is not a part of root locus. This is the not root locus part. Then minus 1, its right side, only one pole is there, so that is the odd number. So that can be a part of root locus. So root locus exists between 0 to minus 1 and minus 2 to minus infinity. It is from 0 to minus 1 and minus 2 to minus infinity. Okay, so the root locus must be present, the breakaway point must be present, these points 0 to minus 1, okay, and minus 2 to minus infinity. Just find out that. So there are three asymptotes. How we can find out the asymptote? Poles minus 0. There are three poles and no 0, so 3 minus 0 means there are three asymptotes, and using the formula 2q plus 1 into 180 degree divided by p poles minus 0, you can find out the asymptote. Asymptote you will get 60, 180 and the 300 degree. Now how the centroid is calculated? Summation of the poles minus summation of the zeros divided by poles minus zeros. Summation of the poles is minus 1 minus 2, that becomes minus 3. Okay, divided by poles minus 0 is again 3, minus 3 divided by 3, the centroid is minus 1. So the centroid is minus 1. Next is the breakaway point. Breakaway point, how we are finding? Summation of 1 upon beta. So 1 upon beta plus 1 upon beta plus 2, 1 upon beta 2 plus equal to 0. The equation becomes, for the three poles, the equation becomes 3 beta square plus 6 beta plus 2. So we are finding this equation for the three poles. So it is a minus 0.423 minus 1.57. If you see these two terms, minus 0.43 and minus 1.57, this minus 1.57 is not valid, because the root locus is only present between the 0 to minus 1 and minus 2 to minus infinity. So this minus 1.57 is a invalid breakaway point. So valid breakaway point is what? Minus 0.423. So the another method or the second method is by finding the differentiation of the characteristic equation, that mostly this method is preferred. Okay, suppose this is the same example, k upon s into s plus 1 into s plus 2. How we are finding the breakaway point? Let's see. We are finding, first of all, we are forming the equation for k first of all. Okay, just form the equation for k, then take a derivative of equation for k is there, is equations k is formed, then the derivative of k with respect to s is determined with equating with 0, and whatever the result that is equated to 0, and the roots are nothing but the breakaway point. The same roots we are getting, minus 1.57 and the minus 0.423, and observing the root locus parts and non-root locus part, minus 0.423, this is not a valid breakaway point, that is invalid, and the valid breakaway point is minus 1.57 where the graph will be drawn. So this is the breakaway point. Next thing is the last thing, we got the real axis point, that is called as the breakaway point, but the intersection point on the imaginary axis, that we need to find out. Okay, for that purpose we require a characteristic equation. So we are analyzing the same equation, same open loop transfer function example, k upon s into s plus 1 into s plus 2. The characteristic equation for same we need to find out first of all, that is s cube plus 3s square plus 2s plus k equal to 0. Okay, so using this equation we have to draw the roots array first of all. Okay, so the roots table is formed here. Whatever the roots Harvey's criteria that we have analyzed, the same we are going to use here. Okay, so this is our characteristic equation, form the roots array. Okay, then get the conditions, what is the value of k, that is important here, k marginal, and the s square row is important. Form the equation from s square row, that becomes 3s square plus k equal to 0. This is called as the auxiliary equation. Okay, auxiliary equation is determined from s square row, and that we are finding the imaginary point intersection with the root locus. So k is 6. How the k is 6? 6 minus k equal to 0, that is the k marginal value. Okay, from the s raised to 1 row, put the k equal to 6 in the equation. 3s square plus 6 equal to 0. S square 3s square is equal to minus 6. So s square is equal to minus 6 divided by 3, so that is a minus 2. Okay, so that s square is equal to minus 2. So while we find the roots, we'll get the roots as j minus 2 and the minus j root 2. Okay, plus j root 2 and the minus j root 2, these are the values for the minus 2 equations. So these are the two intersection points with the real axis or the root locus. And the last point is what? Last point of the root locus is the angle of departure and the angle of arrival. Angle of departure and angle of arrival is calculated only where we are having the complex poles and complex zeros. When we have a complex pole in the equation, we are finding the angle of departure with the help of the formula, that is a angle of departure is equal to 180 minus the arguments of the open loop transfer function, angle of the open loop transfer function. Example, just have the another example, k into s plus 2 divided by the complex poles s plus 1 plus j, s plus 1 minus j, there are two complex poles. Okay, so there are the two angle of departure that may be present, positive or negative, because this is a complex conjugate pair. Okay, first of all we have to consider for the first pole minus 1 plus j. For that pole we have to look at the angles which are made by the other poles and zeros. Okay, so there is the 1 0 at minus 2, one pole at the plus 1 minus j. Okay, this is a plus minus 1 minus j, minus 1 minus j. So there is the angle of 45 minus 90 degree. So 180 minus 45 degree, the angle of departure is 135 degree. How to find out the angle for this? The formula is tan inverse of imaginary term divided by real term, which we have used in the Bode plot. So that formula will be useful for the finding the angles. So in this way we can find out the angle of departure when the complex poles are given, and when we have a complex 0, at that time we have to find out the angle of arrival. So the angle of arrival is 180 minus angle of the open loop transfer function. Okay, so these are the two rules. This is the important rule at the end. So in this way we can solve the various root locus examples, and we can draw the root locus parts. Okay, so root locus is a graphical method of the pole zero plot where the stability is analyzed. Okay, and the stability is determined with the help of the location of poles, whether the poles are located in the left half of S plane or the right half of S plane. If the poles are lies in the left half of S plane, system is absolutely stable. If any root lies in the right half of S plane, system is unstable. So that is regarding the stability analysis in the time domain analysis. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you very much.